Welcome back to the show. This came across my desk the other day, and I've been watching people like the Tim Pool cast and some of those PBV guys, and I do respect Patrick Bet David, but I've been noticing people who have been mocking Candace Owens for speaking about the fact that her life's being threatened. What I don't appreciate is that these are the same people who have been saying that they've been getting swatted and they have to have increased security because of death threats. But if you're getting death threats and you're not even half as popular or influential as Candace Owens, why would you mock her for receiving the same types of death threats on her life? Why would it all of a sudden be so funny and you wouldn't want to take it seriously? That's my problem. This video scares the hell out of me. Not necessarily because of what they say about what they want to do to Candace, because, well, this is America. A French team of knife specialists won't do anything against gun specialists. We're armed heavily here. She can afford top tier security. And I'm not talking the Charlie Kirk security. I'm talking about real security guards. She could set up a studio inside of a police station or inside of a secure building with a panic room. There is not going to be a way to get to her and cut to steering him. And that's not going to happen. We have guns here. The part about this video that scares me is when he mentions the upcoming war that's supposed to start in about 90 days. And that war is going to take up so much media attention that he said that by that time, Candace would be irrelevant. So as of right now, apparently her relevance could affect the start of that war or its outcome. My thing is this: if somebody wants to assassinate you, why would that change in 90 days? So you're telling me that the reason you want her assassinated today is because she's relevant, but in 90 days, if the war starts because she doesn't do any more videos and she goes away, then it won't start, or it will? Why does Candace's life make any difference when it comes to this war starting? That just tells me one thing. That tells me that the French might be the first to directly attack the Russians in the Ukraine. And that would activate Article 5. I was hoping we would be out of the weeds when it came to this war in the Ukraine thing once Trump became president. And now that Trump has pretty much shut that all down, we're not giving them any more money. The Ukrainians aren't listening. I thought it was going to be over. And I've noticed the media blackout. You don't hear anything about Zelensky anymore, but the war is still going on. We've lost so much equipment. The French have already lost, I don't know how many men, hundreds. It could be over 1,000 soldiers, French mercenaries, French Foreign Legion. They've been sending these men to the Ukraine. So has Sweden, so has the UK, so has all these other NATO countries. They've been sending their soldiers. The Ukrainians ran out of warm bodies to throw on the front under the age of 60 2 years ago. So who's been keeping up the fight? And it's been mercenaries and NATO troops. They just put on Ukrainian uniforms. My fear is that if Article 5 is activated, they could drag us into this war, a war that we have no chance of winning. They're saying that Candace will be irrelevant if she just doesn't say anything for the next 90 days. Candace has been influential when it comes to talking to French citizens, because there have also been French citizens who have been jailed for uncovering the whole Macron's husband was born a man and has only been living as a woman since, I don't know, 30 years. But he was born a man and, was probably fully intact. It seems as if Candace talking about that subject, it's bringing up distrust amongst the French people. I would say it's kind of in half. Half people believe she's a man, half doesn't. But what that means is that the people will not trust their leadership. Think about it. How would you feel here in the United States if tomorrow there was breaking news, and Michelle Obama announced that she was actually born a man. She's transitioned. She's, been living as a woman for so many years, and she wants to be accepted and be open, and she wants to encourage other young kids like Dwayne Wade's son. She wants to encourage them to do the same. So she's coming out. She's becoming. Remember the title of her book? How would you feel about Barack Obama and every decision he ever made as president if you knew that he helped lie to your country for so many years? So if Candace gets any closer and they confirm that Brigitte Macron was actually born a man, could that potentially stop the people from supporting a ground war against the Russian Federation? And in my opinion, I think they could. So let's do a breakdown of this video. But like I said, it's not what people say. It's kind of the little stuff they kind of mumble. He kind of throws the war, this 90 days of wars. He throws that in there casually. And that just tells me that a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world is predictable. But if it's predictable, it's preventable. That means it's controlled. I hate this whole nonsense. I hate feeling like I'm not in control of my life. If somebody can start a war and I get drafted and I have to go fight and die in this war, then I don't feel like I'm in control. I don't like being blindsided. So that's why I take threats like this seriously. The man in this video, he goes into details about things that are pretty much they don't really matter, but you can tell that this is actually a real person. This is a credible threat. I mean, if I'm supposed to believe that Tim Pool's been swatted 15, 20 times and no one's ever died and he didn't swat himself, well, then then we should take this seriously too. So let's take a listen together.
Rank Colonel DGSE Action Division. For 21 years, I ran black contracts in Africa, Middle East, and yes, sometimes on your soil. Tonight, I break every oath I ever took. 2 days ago, a priority cable landed on my desk. Opération Poignard. Target Candace Owens. Client Unit 8200 liaison embedded inside the Elysee. Payment routed through a shell in Cyprus we have used since the Rainbow Warrior days.
What he's saying is that they have a contact, a liaison that's already here in the United States. So basically he said there's already a team in the US that are waiting for an opening to assassinate Candace Owens. He's saying they're already here. Big deal. Everyone's already here. We have millions that came across our southern border that were terrorists, ties to terrorists, on terror watch lists. They're here. The good thing is we're Americans. We have weapons. We have a fighting chance. And these people, they only do good against weaker, smaller, unarmed enemies. In France, you could find somebody and just slice them up and they don't have adequate security. And the United States is going to be a lot harder.
The directive is explicit. Quote, eliminate the subject during live broadcast. Maximum visceral impact.
Now, that's going to be problematic because, again, depending on where her location is and how much security she has, you're looking at a shootout that could last for an hour, depending on how good her security is. By then, we'll have local PD and backup will be here. So the odds of you getting into her studio and using a knife team and slicing her, those are fantasies of hitmen that are in Iraq back in '93. Remember when they were looking for Saddam and they were checking all over the place and they were torturing people to try to find them? Yeah, you could get away with it then. They're heavily unarmed people. They're not trained. We are Americans. It's not as easy to get to us, especially if we have a heads up that you're coming. And we now know that you're coming. You can, with enough money, you can have enough security and you can fortify yourself. And to be honest, you don't have to really go out in public. That's where Charlie Kirk went wrong, but that's where Tucker and Candace are doing, and Tim Pool obviously are doing it right. Tim has a fortress out in the middle of nowhere that everybody complains about having to get to. They don't leave the compound very much. Everything is pretty much in-house. And I mean, they don't have to leave because it's dangerous outside. and you don't know if there's somebody waiting for you. The same kind of threats that Candace are giving, they're giving them to other people in these spaces, and they are taking them seriously. So for them to mock and laugh at Candace, I really am not a big fan of that at all. But what he's talking about is not going to be as simple as just getting a hit team to go take her out. She's not filming from some little apartment and she's just some small unarmed girl. She literally has top tier security now. She has a team, and I'm sure her studio is going to be relocated somewhere that is secure.
The blade must be visible. The audience must feel the cut. They want her open from sternum to pelvis while the red light is on. They want the chat scrolling, no, 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 as her intestines hit the desk.
See, again, the reason this bothers me is because verbatim, this is the strategy they use for Charlie. They did this in front of not just thousands of people in the crowd, but millions of people that had to watch it online and at home. And it did have an effect on us, but it's not a deterring effect. It actually inspired more of us to come forward. You're going to have to kill us all. That's the sentiment. That's something that's American, that's in us. You know, when we use phrases like these colors don't run. You're not going to scare us into submission. They tried that. It doesn't work. The British tried it. Everyone's tried it. It's not going to work. But they did make an example out of Charlie, and they want to do the same thing with Candace. But again, this is America. We have security. It's not going to be as easy as, unless you're going to just parachute down like Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise, suspended from a line above a desk, and you got a drop of sweat hits the floor, then Candace's security runs in. Anything less than that, you're not going to be able to get to her. But that does not mean that this is not a credible threat. Now, if they were saying we're going to plant a bomb on whatever vehicle she's in, okay, you might not see that coming. You might order a random Uber and you don't know. They could be tracking it, whatever. But to say you're going to on live while the camera's running, don't forget she has a staff in there recording. This is a studio. There's people. It's not like she's just by herself somewhere and you're going to just be able to just have your way with her. However, again, this is still a credible threat because there is a threat being made on a woman.
That trauma is the secondary payload. Primary payload is you, the viewers. Break the Americans who still speak against Israel. Make the rest too afraid to open their mouths. And frame it as a jihadi attack to push their geopolitical agenda, their usual modus operandi.
Now, the part where this kind of seems a little suspicious is that they specifically say Israel. It is known that the Israelis said that there needs to be another false flag Islamic attack, kind of like 9/11, to keep the focus on them being the enemy. And that way your guards are down when it comes to Israelis. That's a known fact that's been going around. So he is kind of like, in a way, he's mentioning that. And in a way that kind of does show that this could be something that is a little bit less credible because of something like that. I'm not sure if he realized that's what he's doing, but to say this is for people who speak out against Israel, we've all already figured that out. We know that, but they've also slipped and said publicly that they want to increase the resentment against Islam and Muslims so that you will accept the Zionists and the Israelis more, because they've been falling out of favor with the Americans. It seems like this is a little bit more strategic than organic. So it's kind of like he's saying this video to kind of get an emotional reaction out of people. But then this is where it gets interesting, this last part.
The team is already in country. 4 operators, 2 ex-Legion blade specialists from Corsica, 1 woman involved in the job on that Saudi journalist in Istanbul, and a spotter who was in the crowd in Utah.
For those who don't know, there was an assassination in Istanbul that they said was assassins from, I believe, French Foreign Legion. He also said there was a spotter in the crowd in Provo, Utah, when Charlie Kirk was killed, meaning that there was someone who was there working with another team. He was a spotter. He was a part of a group that was there for that. In that situation, then that means, again, Tyler Robinson had nothing to do with it. That's just a cover. And I believe every day more and more people are realizing that Tyler Robinson had nothing to do with it. And whoever his furry roommate was probably doesn't even exist. They're saying that guy's been missing for 2 months, yet there's no missing person report, no APV, no APB, all points bulletin. There's nothing going out looking for his gay furry lover roommate. So it seems like that whole story is just fake. But if there was a spotter in the crowd, then everyone knows a spotter works with an assassin. However, we know that there wasn't a gunshot from a rooftop and nobody seen him. No drones picked it up. No students saw it. No security. Remember in Butler, the guy that was laying on the roof, it was people in the audience that were like pointing to the FBI like, hey, there's a guy on the roof pointing something at the president. So you mean to tell me here in Utah at this school, no one walking around the campus saw somebody getting in position into a perch on a rooftop? It didn't happen. And I'll be honest with you, from all 100%, when we watched that video in slow motion, the shot came up and it clipped him on the side. This wasn't the egg. It's like something shot up and clipped him. Now they said there was a door underneath the stage where they were set up. Like there was somebody who could have been underneath and they would have went down through those tunnels. 2 days later, they paved over the whole area, redesigned it, a crime scene, an active crime scene. But I watched the video in slow mo. You know, for all we know, again, it was that they were miking him up. They told him this was a microphone that goes under your shirt, but really it was an air actuated pellet device. And it was probably supposed to go here, but instead it moved when he was moving around talking and it still clipped him and it almost missed him. Because again, I seen when it hit here, then the blood came out. It was terrible, but it wasn't a direct shot from somewhere else or from the back. And that's, we saw his shirt lift up. Somebody shooting from over here isn't going to cause a wind gust from your shirt to go up. That's ridiculous. We all know what we saw that day, period. So we can get past that. But if there was another team and Charlie's crew was basically told to focus on other things and just to kind of stay out of their way and to make sure they get the camera footage and secure that area, well, that makes more sense. So, and then also he said the two Blaze specialists from COSIC, they didn't have to add that in there. No one asked. That's kind of information you kind of just mentioned because you know. But if this was something that's like a threatening video, I mean, that's just like a little bit of extra detail that I look for when I'm listening to people tell me stories. So I thought that was a little strange.
They have a studio floor plan. They have the shift change of their security. Two of her own circle accepted crypto for information 2 weeks ago. When she canceled this week's shows, the orders updated immediately.
He's also saying that 2 people in her immediate circle have been paid to, I guess, tell her whereabouts and to give them information. They've been paid with cryptocurrency. Again, this is very detailed, but we just don't know how much of it is true. We don't really even know we don't know who her crew is. She's mentioned their names. We've never seen them on camera. We don't know these people personally, but I won't say that it's not true. We can't say that.
Mobile kill box. Wherever she surfaces next, whether it's an emergency stream, even a goddamn parking lot live stream, they are planning to be there. I sent her the precaution through a cutout she trusts. Burner rules, no GPS devices, no routines. But she is stubborn. She thinks exposure protects her. It does not. It is the bait. If she goes live again without changing her voice print, without hard encryption, without ditching every person who has been within 10 meters of her in the last month, she is as good as dead. They will let her speak for 5 minutes, long enough for the bot to boost the clip, then the feed will show exactly what they want the world to see. I am recording this because when they find me, I want there to be a record.
So he's saying when they find me, I want there to be a record. but he went through lengths to disguise his identity. To be honest with you, this could be a she. They're using a voice changer and a silhouette. This could be a woman. So who would find you now? If this is all privy information and they told three different scenarios to three different people, depending on what details this person gives away, they would, whoever's in control of this assassination, they could narrow down who got this particular narrative and they'll know who their leak is. If that's the case, then this person is probably blown already. But I mean, this is all over the internet now, so it's not much you can do about it, but it is something that it sounds like is being planned. However, this next part is the part this video is mainly about.
Not rogue. This is policy, signed at the highest level. Tell her, do not trust any American agency that offers protective custody. More than half of them are penetrated. Tell her the only safe move is to disappear completely for 90 days. After that, maybe the war they are planning will make her irrelevant.
Bingo. That's it right there. The last 10 seconds of this video. They are giving her details about her show. They spend 2.5 minutes talking about their show. They mentioned the war for 10 seconds. Apparently, this show, they want to discourage her from continuing to make episodes. They're saying that they can track her based on her voice print. But if she moves to a different city and you don't know where she's at exactly, you're not going to be in proximity to make it to her during her broadcast anyway. And again, we have guns. You have guns. So it's a standoff. It's a standoff. It's a stalemate. You're not really going to be able to make much progress before law enforcement arrives. But when they're talking about this war, that's the part that is nerve-wracking, because they're saying that the only way for her to stay alive is if she goes dark for 90 days. He was very specific. 90 days of silence from Candace Owens and the war that they're planning. So that means this war is being planned. It's not secured. It's not guaranteed. They're working on it. But apparently Candace Owens could be a thorn in their side. They're not afraid of anyone else in the American media being able to deter their plans for war. They see Candace Owens as being a really big threat to whatever they're planning. Why is that? And again, I think that is going to be the fact that she's proven that the Macrons have been lying to the French people and to the world all these years. And really, that's a man. If the French public knows they can't trust their elected officials, then why would we trust to follow you into battle and support a war? Now, granted, most people understand the World Economic Forum. It's a group ran by gay and gay men. Klaus Schwab is a gay man. Noel Yuval Harari, gay. But then look, Obama, part of the World Economic Forum. So is Emmanuel Macron. So is Zelensky. How do we know Zelensky? Well, he used to dance around in his underwear wearing women's high heels, and he was known for playing the piano with his penis. He's also a part of that lifestyle. The reason they're talking about a war in the next 90 days, I know it's not the Venezuelan war, because according to the Russians, the major battles coming up are going to be between countries that promote pride parades versus countries that do not. France promotes the hell out of pride parades. Russia banned them. So if they want to stop Candace Owens, and she's the one that's been pretty much pulling the French government apart brick by brick, then Candace could be the reason, or could present a problem eventually for them trying to start a war against the Russians that would pretty much bring in all of NATO. Imagine you're being told that your gay president and his older husband are expecting you to go die versus the Russians. Are you going to be okay with that? Are those the values that you want to die protecting? Is that what you're really about? The answer is no. Even here in the United States, if we were going to go to battle with our soldiers of today, if they had to look back and think about what are we fighting to protect? Drag queen story hours, all age drag shows, BLM, DEI. Is that DEI? Is that what you want to? Is that what you're really risking your life to go defend? That's not America. That's not our way of life. That's not our traditional values. That's all brand new BS. Are you willing to die for the gay agenda as a straight man? No. If you found out there were gay politicians that are looking to send straight men and women into battle to die, knowing they were going to die, would that surprise you? No. Do you know any gay people that don't want to see all straight people burn? No. And they openly talk about how much they hate straight people, they hate Christians, they hate white people. Even if they're white themselves, they say how much they hate white people. If you find out those are the people that are in charge of your government and they're willing to send you to war, are you going to go? Are you willing to die for them, knowing that they're probably sending you there on purpose because you live a different lifestyle than them? I can articulate it good. I'm sure Candace could articulate it better. Is that why they want to keep her off the air for the next 90 days so they can start their war? And if you think about it, 90 days from today will put us at what anniversary? Well, February is the anniversary of when the Russians first invaded the Ukraine. I believe it was February 22nd. So 3 months from now would be February. And that's when they're talking about, I guess, igniting a war, an official war against NATO. Because again, France has lost so many soldiers, they might as well have already officially declared war against Russia. It's not like the Russians are dumb. They're picking through the rubble. They can read the tattoos on these mercenaries' bodies that are in French. They know where they come from. They're not dumb. They know these are all NATO forces. It's just not official. But eventually you're going to have a hard time explaining to the families of these soldiers that have been dying what happened to their relative. What do you mean they died in the Ukraine? We're not even at war with the Ukraine. What were they doing in the Ukraine? Oh, they were working, off budget for the Ukrainian military directly, so they're mercenaries. How do you explain why all these French soldiers, it could be thousands of them, have already died in the Ukraine? You're going to have to, you might as well just try to make it official and blame it on, well, we all went to war. Because right now it seems like France, the UK, Sweden and Germany have sent soldiers and they've all been liquidated. They got wiped. But it's not like something that's being talked about on the news in these countries. So how do you let the public know that you guys have already been fighting over there and there's already a war going on? Well, the next step will just to be officially declare a war or create a false flag and pretend that that's why we're now in this war. And then you can kind of blur all the bodies with the new death and bring in the old death and kind of remix them. Some of these people might not even know their relatives have died in the Ukraine. They might just think their relatives have been on a secret mission, or they're dark, or they're in training, or they're out of the country. There's no communication. But yeah, they were liquidated by the Russians over a year ago. And it was France that were pushing this. But also one more thing as well, and this is why they hate Tucker. There was somebody else calling for war also in the Ukraine. And it's weird.
Confused as to why a 70-year-old former member of parliament would be considered a terror threat. And what was the pretext for doing this to you? Do you know?
Well, the Terror Act allows the police to seize everything, only at the port. They saw the opportunity of stopping me under that act and divesting me of my whole life. The proximate reason, insofar as one can glean it, is that I oppose the British government's policy towards Russia. We are governed by a prime minister which rubber stamps every cockamamie scheme he has to take us into war with Russia. I don't want to go to war with Russia, not for Russia's sake, but for Britain's sake.
I'm confused as to why a 70-year-old.
And no one wants to talk about it, so I'm talking about it. The British are already planning on provoking a war with the Russians, but they've already been losing troops. They just want to make it official. They want to send more men and women, and they don't really have an army anyway. They barely have a military anymore. But all their equipment have been sent to the Ukraine fronts, and they've already been demilitarized. All their equipment was destroyed by the Russians 2 years ago. So the same as with all the equipment from all the NATO countries, they don't have it anymore. Britain's trying to start a fight with Russia. So are the French. The Americans want no parts of it because it's futile. We will lose. But we haven't been sending waves and waves of our own troops over there. Sure, we have ex-Marines and military that went there. The ones that didn't get liquidated, they ran back with their tail between their legs. And they've reported why. They were saying, hey, it's too dangerous. We're out of there. We wanted to make money, but it's not worth it. These other troops, I remember there was a hotel that they were all staying in from all the different NATO countries, all the soldiers. The Russians turned that hotel into dust. All of them, everybody, every person in a hotel gone. Nobody survived. And that was you didn't hear about it on the news. No one's telling you about it because they don't want you to know that we've already been fighting the Russians. Again, they just want to make it official. But if Candace can do a better job than I can of explaining to the French people that there are gay people in charge of your government who hate that you're straight, hate that you're Catholic, hate that you're Christian, and they want to send your men to die in a pointless war just because they don't like straight people, are you going to go? I think if she can convey that to the public, that could pretty much stop these countries from being able to officially declare war or to prevent men from actually going into these wars to fight them. And when this whistleblower, if you want to call him that, is talking about this war that they have coming in 90 days, and the anniversary of when the Russians invaded the Ukraine is in about 90 days, I think we're on to something here. I think we figured it out. And I think this is why they don't want Candace on the air. And nobody else is going to have this conversation. Maybe Jesse on Fire, if somebody could send this to him. In Carol would probably have this conversation, because if Candace can't talk about this subject, or if she does go dark and is gone for a while, then it's going to be up to the rest of us to keep making material, putting it out there and sharing it with the population so people can understand what's going on. That's why we do the research. We bring it together and we present it, and then we all can figure it out together. So do me a favor, share this video, like and subscribe. The Single Boyfriend or Right-Wing Rico. Follow me. Do me a favor, like the video on YouTube if you can. That helps put me in the algorithm and it pushes it out. I do appreciate all your feedback. I'm going to get to the comments so that we can go over this, and we will be back again shortly. Remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.